Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you? It is 8:05 a.m. here on the East Coast. It is on the East Coast. Listen to me, on the West Coast. And I've got this holiday hat on today because your customer support elf has been up late with packaging. So our format around here is that we've systematically been going through chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Hey, good morning, Deanna. Your baby is so cute. I just love this. Congratulations. I mean, yeah, he looks like a very, very happy child. Congratulations. Happy holidays. Yeah, happy holidays indeed. Yeah, we had a good holiday weekend. Oh, you're welcome. You are welcome. He's just adorable. I mean, wow. So yeah, I made a new IGTV video yesterday in my full SoCal Santa elf regalia on there, just showing how I package things. So I thought, why not carry on with the spirit, because tomorrow is December 1st, which is crazy. I mean, this year has just flown by and people have had birthdays, and I'm just like, well, wait a minute, didn't you just have the birthday? I mean, where'd the time go, really? So we went up to Julian, California, which is an old gold rush town, but the real gold rush these days is all the apple pies and apple cider that they have, because a gentleman back in the 1800s bought a wagon full of apples and planted them. It's at 4,000 feet elevation up there, and so it gets cold. I mean, we ate outside Saturday evening, and it was 48 degrees, and we're at 4,000 feet, and then there was a little breeze, so we were glad we wore our wool. So the apples love it up there, and it's just pie town. I mean, it's one pie shop after another. It's crazy. And then all the apple cider, sweet cider, hard cider, and then all the dried fruits, and that the things that they grow locally, the peaches and all of that. I mean, I was, the first time we had a hard time selecting a pie. Last time, we had to stop at the English toffee. I mean, it was crazy. But it was a good weekend. We went up there for the living Christmas tree lighting. Because of COVID, instead, it was they moved a plastic tree to downtown. They are to be commended for that. And the gentleman who heads the Chamber of Commerce just kind of went like this with the remote, and ding, the tree was lit. I mean, it was kind of funny. But I commend them for adapting. Although there weren't a lot of people there at that time of night, because there's a lot of switchbacks when you take the road up there. And I guess a lot of people don't want to be driving on those switchbacks at night, down the mountain at 4,000 feet. So it was maybe better than going during the day, but you better get there and get in line for your pie by the latest 5:36, because they close shop. Bakers have to get up and start baking at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's hard to imagine how many pies these people make every day, because the line is consistently out the door, no matter what pie shop it is. All right, so I wax poetic about the pies. So now let's get into the mantra. Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good little Christmassy time. Since we're not really seeing anybody. So last week we did text 39. So in text 39, Krishna says, Yachapi sarvabhutanam bijam taraham Arjuna nadar asti vina yatsyan mayā bhutam characharam. Which means, furthermore, O Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existences. There is no being, moving or non-moving, that can exist without me. So basically, he's saying that he is a seed-giving father of everything. So, in text 40, because now we're getting down to the end here, because it only goes to 41, Krishna is wrapping it up. So text 40 goes like this in Sanskrit. Nānto asti mama divyānāṁ let me get this right because it's actually really pretty. Nānto asti mama divyānāṁ vibhūtīnām paran-tapa eṣaḥ tūddeśataḥ prokto vibhūter vistaro mayā. Okay, so the word-for-word translation is na, nor, antaḥ, a limit. Asti, there is, mama, my. Divyānām, of the divine. Vibhūtīnām, opulences. Paran-tapa, O conqueror of the enemies. eṣaḥ, all this, too, but. Uddeśataḥ, as an example. Prokta, spoken. Vibhūteḥ, of opulences. Vistaraḥ, the expanse, mayā, by me. Good morning, Michael Disco Mike Park. Welcome. Nice to have you here. Thanks for all the hearts on all my posts lately. I really appreciate it. Okay, so the translation in its entirety in English reads like this. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. Purport. As stated in the Vedic literature, although the opulences and energies of the Supreme are understood in various ways, there is no limit to such opulences. Therefore, not all the opulences and energies can be explained. Simply a few examples are being described to Arjuna to pacify his inquisitiveness. I think it's appropriate to read the next verse. Yad yad vibhūtīnāṁ sattivam srimad urjitam evava tad tad evava gacchadvam mama teho misha sambhavan. Yat yat, whatever, vibhūti, opulences, mat, having, sattvam, existence, shri mat, beautiful, urjitam, glorious, eva, certainly, va, or, tat tat, all those, eva, certainly, avagacha, must know, tvam, you, mama, my, teja, of the splendor, amsa, apart, sambhavam, born of. Translation. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. Any glorious or beautiful existence should be understood to be but a fragmental manifestation of Krishna's opulence, whether it be in the spiritual or material world. Anything extraordinarily opulent should be considered to represent Krishna's opulence. And then I'm going to go ahead and read the last verse, and that's going to take care of chapter 10, and then we'll do a little discussion here. Text 42. Atava vibhūtīnāṁ kim janatena tarvarjuna vishtabayam idam krishnam ekamsena stito jagat. That's a little bit of a tricky one. Let me try that again. Atava vibhūtīnāṁ kim gyatena tavarjuna vishtabyānāṁ idam krishnam ekamsena stito jagat. Okay, sometimes you get these, phrases in Sanskrit where there is a melding of two words. So, for example, tav. Tav in this verse it's tava, your, but it's melded with Arjuna, Prince Arjuna's name. So Tav Arjun or Tav Arjuna, you know, it melds together. We do things like that too, right? We have contractions. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support the entire universe. The Supreme Lord is represented throughout the entire material universes by his entering into all things as the Supersoul. The Lord here tells Arjuna that there is no point in understanding how things exist in their separate opulence and grandeur. He should know that all things are existing due to Krishna's entering them as Supersoul. From Brahma, the most gigantic entity, on down to the smallest ant, all are existing because the Lord has entered each and all and is sustaining them. There is a mission that regularly propounds that worship of any demigod will lead one to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the supreme goal. But worship of demigods is thoroughly discounted herein, because even the greatest demigods like Brahma and Shiva represent only part of the opulence of the Supreme Lord. He is the origin of everyone born, and no one is greater than him. He is Ashamurdava, which means that no one is superior to him, and that no one is equal to him. In the Padma Purana, it is said that one who considers the Supreme Lord Krishna in the same category with demigods, be they even Brahma or Shiva, becomes at once an atheist. If, however, one thoroughly studies the different descriptions of the opulences and expansions of Krishna's energy, then one can understand without any doubt that the position of Lord Sri Krishna, and can fix his mind in the worship of Krishna without deviation. That's an interesting point. That's a very interesting point. The point here is not to become distracted. There are a lot of distractions in the material world, as we know, like Facebook and all the things that scroll by us. But in a more spiritual context, we can also be taken down different paths that don't necessarily help us meet our goal of bhakti with alacrity. So, while Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are certainly to be given respect, it's still to be understood that they are not the supreme. There is this confusion that you will come across in, quote, Hindu culture. And that is because of a lack of education, ultimately. But you will see that there is, they say the so-called Hindu Trinity. So that consists of Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. But it's important to understand who these personalities are, what the hierarchy is, and what their functions are. So as Prabhupada is pointing out repeatedly in the purports to these three last verses in Opulence of the Absolute, Lord Vishnu, which I have spoken about before, he is the expansion of Krishna that maintains the material universe, that enters into all of the universes, and that enters into all of our hearts and accompanies us as Paramatma. Paramatma is our friend and is our witness, right? He sees everything that we do, and also is there when we're finally willing to turn to him, just waiting patiently, waiting. Paramatma is also that aspect of the Lord, the super soul, that the yogis see after they sit in meditation for a very, very long time. They meditate upon the Lord within the heart. So Brahma and Shiva, however, they do not do this. This is not their position. This is not their function. Brahma, he is the firstborn of Vishnu, and he is considered to be the grandfather of the universe because he very much wanted to have this ability to create or to co-create. So Krishna grants him that after incalculable years and human years of sitting in austerity and sitting in meditation. But as Brahma pointed out to Hiranyakashipu, who asked Brahma for immortality, Brahma just said, I can't give you immortality because I'm not immortal. You know, I have a beginning and an end in this form. So this is important. This is the difference. Lord Vishnu, Krishna, is immortal. In other words, there is no difference between his body and his spiritual person. His spiritual body does not degrade. It does not die. It is completely transcendental. So that is the difference. Lord Brahma, even though he has a more subtle body, I'm sure, because he is living in the upper planetary systems. He's living on the highest planet within this material universe, Brahmaloka, where the streets are paved with gold, right? People get confused. You know, the heavenly planets are not heaven, and the heavenly planets are not the same thing as going to the spiritual world. Even if you go to the heavenly planets, you're going to have to come back down again. Once we become liberated from this material tabernacle and we enter back into the spiritual world, into Vaikuntha, the place without fear, there is no falling down, there is no recycling, there is no coming back here, because we have attained that level of self-realization completely, and we finally understood where our real happiness lies, right? There's no place like home, in other words. And Lord Shiva is actually the son of Brahma. So you may remember Brahma had asked the 4 Kumaras to please kindly populate, you know, the universe, assist in helping him populate the universe, and they refused because they were already self-realized and they did not want to get entangled. And as a result of this, Brahma became very angry, but he had wanted to control his anger. He didn't want to take his anger out on the Kumaras, so all his anger was concentrated between his eyebrows, and from that, Lord Shiva was born, or Rudra, right? Rudra, red, anger. Lord Shiva is very easily pleased, but he can also be very easily angered. And Lord Shiva's position is to take care of those living entities that are in the mode of darkness, in the mode of tama, in the mode of ignorance, in the mode of tamagun. So, and his responsibility, you could say, is actually the destruction of the universe. So the destruction of the universe and the maintenance of the universe and the maintenance of everything, all the creation, that which we see and here in the material world, in our hometown, and on this globe, and that which we do not see, which comprises of 3/4 of the creation, the spiritual world, that is all maintained by Krishna. Hey, good morning, Sven. Happy holidays. Nice to have you here. I hope you had a good weekend. So, let me see now. Okay, so that's basically what I'm saying is being reiterated here. If, however, one thoroughly studies the different descriptions and opulences and expansions of Krishna's energy, then one can understand without any doubt the position of Lord Sri Krishna, and one can fix his mind in the worship of Krishna without deviation. The Lord is all-pervading by the expansion of his partial representation, the supersoul who enters into everything that is. Pure devotees therefore concentrate their minds in Krishna consciousness, in bhakti, yoga, in full devotional service. Therefore they are always situated in the transcendental position. So this is wanted. We want to be in the transcendental position, right? We don't want to be buffeted by the waves and the vicissitudes of material existence, the highs and lows. We want something even, right? Although, of course, it's not just even, spiritually speaking. once we have attained that consciousness, it's more like diving into the nectar. There's ever increasing bliss. It's unlimited and expansive. But that is to say that we are not disturbed the way we are here by so many material disturbances, so many that are coming from other people, other living entities, that are coming from nature, right? The weather, extreme heat, extreme cold, tsunamis, earthquakes, you name it, all of those things. And also our own mind, right? So we have adhyatmic, adikleshik, and adidaivik. So we've got those external causes that create suffering, that create inconveniences, that create forms of misery, depression. Depression is a big thing around the holidays, for example. So there is a detachment, a healthy detachment that evolves, and that is created once we have attained this level of self-realization. And that is needed, right? It doesn't mean that we become callous to this world or to the people suffering in this world. It doesn't mean that. But just like I was describing last week, a yogi, he becomes like a dried coconut. So if you're ever on the beach, like in Puerto Rico or Mexico or India, wherever coconuts grow, sometimes you find these old coconuts laying around. You go to pick it up because you're hoping that it's good. And then you pick it up and you hear that it's rattling inside. And that's because it has become dried, right? And so it is detached from the shell. So in a similar way, as yogis, we are trying to come to that point when we are detached, and we can see things clearly. We can see the material energy working, but we understand that we are different from the material energy. We understand that we are, a soul having a material experience and not, right? Okay, you get the point. You guys are smart. Okay, so then he goes on to say, devotional service and worship of Krishna are very clearly indicated in this chapter in verses 8 through 11. That is the way of pure devotional service. How one can attain the highest devotional perfection of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been thoroughly explained in this chapter. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, a great acharya, or an acharya is someone who teaches by example, someone who lives it completely, not someone who just says it, but someone who lives it because they've realized it. And because they're also can be acting, under the instructions of their teacher, of their guru, of the spiritual master, in the chain of dislipic succession, the param-tapa. It is explained that this knowledge is like a mango, and that this mango is being passed down from student to teacher to student to teacher to student to teacher, and that the teacher is like a sukha, is like a parrot. And so a phenomenon is that if a parrot, a sukha, touches his beak to the mango, and opens it and takes a little bite of it, for some reason, it actually makes the mango taste sweeter. I mean, nature is full of mysteries. So this is compared to the guru and the spiritual master, that just by repeating, this knowledge without deviation, it actually becomes sweeter. It becomes sweeter with the realization that each person has as this knowledge is passed down, over time, which is absolutely beautiful, because we're all individual persons. Okay, Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan, a great acharya in disciplic succession from Krishna, concludes his commentary on this chapter by saying, Yat Shakti Lishat Sur Yadya Bhavanti Ati Ugra Tejasa Yad Amshena Dhritam Vishvam Sa Krishno Dashame Richate. From Lord Krishna's potent energy, even the powerful sun gets its power. and by Krishna's partial expansion, the whole world is maintained. Therefore, Lord Krishna is worshipable. And it says, thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the opulence of the Absolute. So, since it was mentioned in this last portion here, that verses 8 through 11 talk about the worship of, I'm just going to go ahead and read them. Okay, so verse 8, now I'm not going to read the Sanskrit. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Text 9. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. And then text 10. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And then 11, to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So that's awesome. So I guess you could say that's kind of the ultimate cure for depression. Not that I want to belittle anyone's mental struggles. But, you know, whatever it is that we're doing in terms of practical therapy that we need to undergo, because God is practical. You know, we have to be practical. We have to have our feet firmly planted on the ground. But at the same time, yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, actually, because, you know, Vedic culture and the institution of varna, ashram, dharma. Varna means one's occupation, you know, what the gift that one has been given to work in a certain way in a certain lifetime, one's proclivity, according to one's nature. And this activity in society at large, this creates the social body. So the social body consists of, like the human body, it consists of, you know, the feet, right? The feet and the legs. It consists of, you have the belly, right? You need to eat. You have the arms, you need to work, you need to protect. And you have the head, right? Because you need to discern, you need to think. You need to know where you're going. So the social body is like that. So perhaps that you feel inclined towards doing agricultural work or, you know, physical labor, right? People who work with their hands. That is a very important part of the social body, because the people who do that, they support the entire society. So they should be given to in charity. They should be protected. They should not be abused and exploited. Then you have the stomach, right? That is represented by the Vaishyas. So the Vaishyas, those are the people who are, forgive me, I made a mistake. The Vaishyas are not part of the legs, they're part of the stomach. So the Vaishyas, those are the people that do the agricultural work, that do cow protection, and also those who sell and trade, barter, right? That's the stomach, because we have to be fed. Everyone has to be fed in society. That's extremely important. And then you have the arms, and the arms are there to protect from harm. And those, the arms of the social body are the Kshatriyas. That is the, you know, the warrior class and the administrative class, right? That would be the military. That would be those people that are actually qualified to be in the military, to protect society in general, to protect the citizens, to protect, not harm, but to protect. And then there is the head of society. So those are the people that are renounced, and those that are people that are in pursuit of learning and that teach learning. The name for that are the Brahmins, right? So those are the teachers. So those can be people that are teaching anything from history to astrology to cosmic law. They are actually giving guidance to the kshatriyas, right? The kshatriyas, the people that are in the administration and the government, they're actually supposed to be listening to the intelligent class, the people that can think a little bit farther and know the finer details of things, because they also have some detachment from material life. They are generally very renounced. They don't have a lot of possessions because they're interested in what's going on up here and what's going on in here. And so it's better to have someone like that advising you, especially in governmental affairs and politics, where, you know, emotions and possessiveness and so on can get in the way, and have someone that can just keep it clean, keep it detached, and make sure that you are executing your duty in the right way. So, again, Krishna says here that to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So this is the beauty of chanting. This is the beauty of meditation. This is the beauty of getting together, you know, on a weekly basis together, and, you know, going through these verses and reading these mantras, because, you know, yoga and mantra is supposed to be a practical thing that you can use in your everyday life. In the yoga world, they talk about what happens when you get off the mat, right? Or what happens when you walk out of church or out of synagogue. Do you forget everything that you heard, or are you applying it? Now, the challenge in trying to apply these things is that so often we are treated as if we are like schizophrenic, right? We're supposed to, it's not taught holistically, in other words. That's what I'm trying to say. And this can create a lot of conflict and a lot of illness in society. So sex, for example, is a good example, right? Krishna says, I am that sex life that follows religious principles. In other words, that follows dharma. It doesn't mean pretend that you're not interested in sex. It doesn't mean have bad sex. It doesn't mean that. Krishna didn't say that, right? So the idea is that if you are not ready, you know, to go on a path of 100% celibacy, for example, you shouldn't be going on it. You should be humble. You should be realistic. And if you need to be with a partner, then you should get with a partner, right? You shouldn't be pretending and then later on down the line find yourself caught up in kind of a shame and and humiliation, because now you don't want to have to admit that you weren't really ready for that position and you weren't ready for that honor, right? So human nature is, while we're not 100% honest, to want to cover up things like that because it's embarrassing. We don't want to be ridiculed. We don't want to be mocked. It says that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that for one who has known honor, dishonor is worse than death, right? We'd rather die than have to face the the humiliation of dishonor. So, every step of the way here throughout the Bhagavad Gita, and I think I'm going to cover that chapter next. Normally we would go to the universal form, but I'm going to cover that chapter next. Krishna gives encouragement, and he says, do this for me. But if you can't do this, then do this. And if you can't do that, do this. And if you can't do that, do this. And if you can't do that, do this. In other words, Krishna meets people where they're at. He meets us where we're at. He is not saying overreach. Do what you can, but do what you can as a consistent basis as you possibly can. And in this way, I see that. I notice that I'm in your heart. I know what's in your heart. And if I see you trying in this way to make progress, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you, and that I am going to show you special mercy. I am going to shine the lamp of knowledge. And that is going to dispel the darkness born of ignorance. So I'm sure we've all had these experiences where, you know, we're trying to solve a problem and we're trying to do something and we're like racking our brains trying to figure it out, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden we get this, you know, it's like we get this insight. All of a sudden, you know, our brain, it's like, oh yes, that's what it is. Yes, that's what it is. And suddenly we have the key to be able to solve our problem. So we've all experienced this. And so that is Krishna, right? That is Krishna, you know, giving you the knowledge to be able to solve your problem, or, you know, supplying you with a memory, right? What did my mother say, right? What did my father say? What did so-and-so show me? Because the brain is, there's so much stuff in this brain. So much to remember, you know. It's crazy, right? How much is going on in our lives and in the universe. So this is a wonderful way in which we're shown a special favor, special mercy. So this is a really beautiful chapter, the opulence of the absolute. You can go back through the playlists here on this page and watch them if you want the overview. But essentially, Krishna takes us through all the different ways in which we can see him. He explains that his eyes are the sun and the moon, for example. He explains that of bodies of water, he is the ocean. He explains that of all seasons, he is the flower-bearing spring. He explains that he is manifest in human society as a witness. We went through the different aspects of the sun that Krishna is represented by, who is present, for example, in contract negotiations, right? Krishna is always there in different ways to make sure that you are held accountable, right? That things are done in an honest way. Even if things aren't done in an honest way to begin with, that is noted. That is noted through an aspect of Krishna as the sun. I talked about that. Krishna explains how he is in women, you know, memory and intelligence, for example. He explains that he is the strength of the strong. We've gone through different aspects of the Lord in terms of, you know, the elements also. Let me see. Let me just open something at random here. Of course, he is a super soul. He describes how he is the banyan tree. He describes who he is among sages. He describes who he is among horses. He describes that he is of weapons, that he is a thunderbolt. He describes how he is love. He describes how he is also the gambling of cheats. He describes how he is the splendid of the splendor. He describes how he is victory, adventure, strength. How he is Vyasa, the great thinker. How he is Vyasa, and of the great thinkers, how he is Ushashana, right? We talked about that. How Ushashana was a great political strategist. So in all these different ways, we can not feel so alone, right? Because we're actually not alone. This is the great tragedy. This is the great sadness that we experience here in this world, is this feeling of separation. You know, we can experience this even within our own families. We can feel that we are alone and that we are not understood. I was just watching an interview last night with Mariah Carey, for example. Mariah Carey was having an interview with Naomi Campbell, and Mariah Carey was explaining how she moved 13 times as a child, and that because of her biracial makeup, being black and white, when she would go to a new school, the children wouldn't say to her, who are you, or what's your name? They would say, what are you? So they didn't even consider her to be human. They didn't consider her to be like them. So this created a lot of pain and a lot of loneliness for her. Fortunately, she had that gift of music and was able to take shelter of that gift of music. And of course, her creativity has brought so many positive things into her life and to the life of her fans. But I just thought, wow, it's crazy. This is, we're in the 20th century here. And really, everyone and every child should have some understanding of spiritual knowledge so as not to victimize other people and other things around them with such ignorant questions. So this is sad. This is a product of a society that is in spiritual darkness. Spirituality doesn't just mean going to the church or the synagogue on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, listening to the rabbi or the pastor, recite some things, look good and show your neighbors that you went to church, and then leave, and then go out on Monday and then start your nonsense all again for the rest of the week. No, that's not what it is. It's there to provide a kind of a satsanga, to provide some association so we can exchange our realizations with each other, or the things that we're struggling with each other. It's meant to be a forum where we can be honest with each other, and if need be, we can consult the person who is, head of the flock or head of the congregation, as it were, with some guidance. The person who is there to provide some encouragement, or to provide some food for thought, right, for the rest of the week, similar to what we are doing here. That is the point of it. So, I would encourage everyone to get into Bhagavad Gita as it is and just learn some practical things about sleeping properly, eating properly, what kind of foods to eat, what kind of foods that are not recommended to eat if one is on the path of yoga, what are the different modes of material nature, just these different things that we are surrounded by and confronted by on the daily, so we can get through this life successfully. And when something is affecting us, we can at least have our intelligence step in. It doesn't mean that we're not going to feel what we feel necessarily, but the intelligence can step in because it's been fortified by reading books like Bhagavad Gita as it is. And we can go, okay, wait, mind, okay, wait. You want to take me down this path, which is not going to lead me to a good place, but my intelligence, I'm the boss around here, and I'm the next door neighbor to the soul. So I am going to just guide you over here. Not so fast, mind, right? And then, once we do that and get away, or steered away from whatever it is that our mind was dragging us to, then we feel a little bit stronger, and as the day wears on, we're like, yeah, okay, I'm so glad that I listened to my intelligence and not my mind. Or just even learning how to breathe properly. So I'll give just an example of that. Over the past several days, I have been working on the launch of my store for this Black Friday to Cyber Tuesday sale I'm running for you guys. Okay, 25% off. So there's a lot that goes into it. Setting up the email, setting up the shop, configuring it with Facebook and Instagram, and doing the posts and all of that. And I found that by Friday night, I was kind of in anxiety about it all. And that Saturday, I noticed my breathing was very shallow. So it's like when you are in fear or when you are in anxiety, have you ever noticed that your chest clenches up and You know, everything gets stuck here. Everything gets stuck here in your chest. So it took me a couple of days to figure it out. But I was like, okay, wait a minute. You are feeling afraid. You are feeling anxious that you're not going to be supported and that no one is going to get anything and that you're not going to be able to create your music, you know, for 2021 because you're not going to be able to break even and all of that. But you need to stop and remember to breathe like a baby, to breathe from the chest. And so once I started doing that, you know, yesterday afternoon, once my memory gave me the news flash, then all of a sudden I felt calmer. And then I was actually able to think of some inspirational ideas, which if you check out on my Instagram, I know Michael already has. I made this fun video of me showing you dressed up like this, showing you how I actually pack the packages and everything that goes into it, and how, yes, it really is professionally done. And then I discovered that I had also made a mistake with the buy link technology. So I used Thrive carts, and you know, to apply the discount code, I thought that discount code was just, you know, working on sort of automatically on my landing page. No, dummy, no, Kayani, no. That's not how it works. You actually have to generate the new code, the URL, and you have to paste it in. It doesn't happen automatically. Hey, Carl Maverick Niles, good morning. Nice to see you, man. So, you know, the interesting thing is that once I was able to calm down and adjust my breathing, you know, like a yogi, and actually breathe, then I was able to think. I was able to let go of the fear, and I was able to move forward with some inspiration, rectify the mistakes that were rectified. So I apologize to anyone who tried to make a purchase and didn't find that it was 25% off. I fixed that last night, and there you go. So all these things are important in the life of an aspiring yogi or yogini. So I think that I am going to wrap this up by reiterating, this verse from chapter 10, Opulences of the Absolute. And just sort of conclude by saying, the highest perfectional stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred to Krishna's abode in the spiritual sky, Goloka Vrindavan, where the devotee becomes eternally happy. Oh, no, that was actually chapter 8, but that was actually a very nice thing to read. It's a good thing to remember during the holidays that all of this is temporary. Okay, let me get back to the Sanskrit here. Here we go. And we conclude with our opening verse of today, which was 41. Oh, I beg your pardon, which was 40, because I read the last 3 verses. Nānto asti mama divyānāṁ vibhūtīnām paran-tapa eṣaḥ tūddeśataḥ prokto vibhūter vistaro mayā. 41. Yad yad vibhūtīnāṁ sattvam srimad urjitam eva va tad tad eva vakachatvam mama tejo mamsa sambhavam. And then finally 42. Atava bahu naitena kim gnatena tavar Arjuna divyānāṁ idam krishnam ekam shena shtito jagat. And there you have it. Thank you so much for being with me today. I really appreciate this. I really look forward to being here on Mondays and having your association. It's really wonderful for me. Whether you make it here every week or whether you make it here once a month or every other month or every couple of weeks, it's all good. I really appreciate it. And again, for your convenience, I do have a lot of videos on here and a playlist on here. At this point, I should have about 70 Mantra Mondays that are up. I've been doing Mantra Monday for about 1.5 years now. So at your leisure, take a look through those, and if you have any questions, let me know. If there's anything about the philosophy of bhakti yoga or bhakti Vedanta, devotion and knowledge that you are interested in and want to know about, that we can go into a little bit deeper, tell me. That would be my pleasure. And until I see you again next Monday, which is already going to be, get out, it's already going to be what, December 7th? Crazy. December 7th. Please be well and be safe and know that I care deeply. Okay. See you later. Bye-bye.